Words our Savior Christ saith unto all that truly.
It's Sunday morning at the Anglican parish of St. Michael and All Angels. For the past 3 years, the services here have been like all the others in the parish's long history. Members of the congregation gather.
A reading from the book of Isaiah.
They reflect on scripture and gospel readings. They share communion.
The body of Christ, the bread of heaven.
But in 2010, the parish made a decision. Attendance and revenues were falling. So it sold its church, a building sitting on prime real estate in downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. The plan? To build a new facility several kilometers away in a developing suburb, where thousands of young people are moving. And until that building is complete, the parish meets in the chapel of a local funeral home. But the people of St. Michael's didn't choose their temporary home to mourn what they used to be. Despite worldwide doubts about the strength of the Anglican Church, Father Sam Rose says his parish believes that it's better to relocate and grow, rather than linger and die.
Is a result of our citizenship.
What I admire so much about this congregation is that they were willing to say, although we love this place held so many memories for us, from a practical standpoint, if we stay and just pretend and live off memories, we may have to sell anyway, and we may not exist in about 4 or 5 more years' time.
Father Rose has been with St. Michael's for nearly 6 years. He was first hired as an associate priest to help attract young members. His project was a success. He soon brought in a number of young families like his own. Rose became rector 3 years ago, just as the parish started planning its big move.
Like the boys and girls come up for a few moments. As to live as citizens of heaven, as members of God's family.
Like on paper, it doesn't make sense to be building a brand new church in this climate, in this time of our history. But it makes perfect sense to God. So we're just sort of going along with what God wants. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but sometimes it makes complete sense. And so I think for my parish, I'm very proud of the fact that they took that leap of faith and moved forward with this whole project.
Unlike other Anglican parishes in Newfoundland, St. Michael's has always been on the move. The journey through the city started here at the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist, the heart of the Anglican Church in Newfoundland. St. Michael's began as a mission, or offshoot of the cathedral, in 1885. At first, the parish met in a small schoolhouse on what is now New Gower Street in St. John's. 1 year later came the Springdale Street location, a structure called the Mission Room, where St. Michael's stayed for 18 years. But the congregation kept growing, and the parish kept moving. In 1904, the parish moved several blocks away into a bigger building they call the Casey Street Church. They stayed here for 52 years. And then came St. Clair Avenue. It was St. Michael's largest home yet. The parish moved into its new 900-seat Art Deco structure in 1956. The building's opening was broadcast on a local radio station and narrated by Father Joseph Harris. Harris began the broadcast with a description of the building.
I am speaking to you from the Church of St. Michael and All Angels, the new church in St. John's, and the occasion is the opening of this glorious new church, which replaces the temporary church nearby. As I speak to you now, I'm standing looking down this vast building with its great loftiness and length and its subdued indirect lighting. It holds 900 odd people. It's a glorious church in modern design, and at the east end, in a semicircular apse, which is a deep burgundy color, stands the altar, vested in white brocade for St. Michael the Archangel.
At first, the big church was often packed full. But 54 years passed, and as the facility aged, the growth that had powered the movements of the parish slowed to a halt. By the early 2000s, it became clear that as older members died, new members weren't taking their place. The parish was performing twice as many funerals per year as baptisms. The decline followed a larger trend in the rest of Canada. From 1961 to 2001, official membership in the Anglican Church in Canada dropped from 7% of the population to less than 2%. The Anglicans weren't alone. The Roman Catholic Church and the Protestant denominations all noticed drops in attendance. The members of St. Michael's decided that if the people weren't coming to them, they would go to the people. Like it had in the past, the parish decided to move. This time, they headed to a new location, far away from their old home, a new neighborhood on Kenmount Road. But for the people who remembered the old buildings, the decision was difficult at first. Parish archivist Jean Hillier says older parishioners worried whether it was the right move to make.
Some of them still lived in the area of the St. Clair Avenue location, the very last one before we go to the new one. And they had a wonderful attachment not only to this church, but the Casey Street Church as well. And they were wondering how that would work, going on, moving way out on Kenmount Road as they felt. They were so comfortable with, the church life they had led in Casey Street and on St. Clair Avenue.
The attachment to the old buildings is not unique to the older members of the parish. Jessica Hunt is the head server at St. Michael's. She helps lead the worship on Sunday mornings, coordinating the servers at the altar. Hunt says she still has fond memories of the St. Clair Avenue Church.
I can still smell the old building sometimes. I remember going in and I could just smell the church. It's just one of those feelings that I'll never leave. The church, it just seemed like a really welcoming environment. You walk into the church and it's just so calming and just so peaceful in that church. And I don't know, the new church now, it's really nice. I'm sure it'll be great when we have it all finished and everything. But it's not going to be the same. St. Michael's right now is essentially a family. We're taking our family and we're moving to a new building. Everybody moves houses sometime in their life. So we're just taking our family and we're just moving to a new area. We're still St. Michael's.
If the Sunday services at St. Michael's are like family dinners, the coffee hour is the dessert. Over tea and cookies, members of the parish catch up on what happened during the week, at school, at work, and at home. The coffee hours are also a reminder of what the parish family was like in its old building, before it was forced to move.
We have people who were married in that church, people who were baptized in that church, people who had their children and grandchildren through confirmation. That church really was a symbol of their whole lives. We saw over time that it became less and less and less and less people going. And of course, with the cost of living and other things, to maintain such a structure became more and more and more. So I would say that about 15 years ago, there was some very serious discussion about what are we going to do with this building. It's outgrown us. It's not that we have outgrown the building, it's outgrown us. So a decision was made, very prayerful decision, to essentially put the building up on the market to see what would happen.
The St. Clair site was prime commercial space. So it wasn't long before Max, a company that runs athletics-based community centers in St. John's, bought it for $1.6 million. It renovated the church. It installed volleyball courts where pews used to be. And it built a dance studio in the old parish hall.
Now I think perhaps in my mind and other people's minds in the parish thought that we never really would sell it. But then this happened, even though we knew that we had to do something.
The conditions that inspired St. Michael's to sell are only one part of the curious state of Newfoundland church attendance. Overall, official membership among Anglicans, Roman Catholics, and Protestants in Newfoundland is going down. But in the Anglican Church, many people are still coming back from time to time for specific kinds of services. Archdeacon Jeff Peddle is the rector of the nearby parish of the Good Shepherd. Peddle recently completed his PhD in empirical theology. His doctoral thesis examined how religious behavior has changed in Newfoundland over the past 50 years.
Newfoundland is an exceedingly distinct place because the indicators are actually increasing in the Anglican Church. Our rates of baptisms, our rates of weddings, our rates of funerals are actually increasing, which is very unique among other Anglican churches in other parts of the world. The only thing that is decreasing is official membership, but what people are doing are trading their official core membership for their passive membership. They're not leaving the church. It's just their relationship with it has changed. To give you a rather dramatic statistic, in 1961, the Anglican Church in Newfoundland baptized about 18% of live births. Right now, the Anglican Church is baptizing about 31%. If we think in terms of market share, the number of people coming to the church to have their children baptized is increasing. That's very distinctive because you're not seeing that in most of Canada, the United States, or in England.
It appears that Newfoundland is an island in more than just a geographic sense. While its rates of Anglican baptisms and marriages have steadily risen, the numbers elsewhere continue to fall. In the rest of Canada, between 1961 and 2001, Anglican baptisms fell by more than half, to 3.6% of live births. The Anglican Church in Newfoundland baptizes nearly 9 times that number. In the same time period, Anglican marriages in Newfoundland rose by 4%. But in Canada overall, its number of marriages echoed the number of baptisms, also falling by more than half. The raw numbers suggest growth in Newfoundland, but many of the people coming to the Anglican Church for baptisms and marriages still aren't becoming official members. So in recent years, older Anglicans in Newfoundland have asked the question, where have all the young people gone?
Sold.
Father Rose knows where a lot of them are.
They're not put up very long before they're sold. But our bishop has been challenging parishes, especially in the city, to think about this really new emerging community that's just exploding up on Kenmount Road. It went 4 years ago, there was nothing there except trees. And now there's 3,000 homes there. So there's another 2,000 or 3,000 homes yet to come. So what are we doing to reach these people? Not just to get them to come to join you on a Sunday, but how are we using that community of faith and the building itself to sort of be a center for a neighborhood, which at one time, especially in smaller communities in Newfoundland and in rural Newfoundland, one of the first things they built when a group of people were in an outport would be a church. Well, all this here, this was just, the real waiting period now is the roof, because they can't finish the roof until the wind dies down. We're on the stairway to heaven. This is the big door, and like I said, it'll be the 2 central doors and 2 side lights, which will probably be stained glass of some type, So then you come in, and you go this way for the church, that way through for the meeting areas, because there's a corridor behind which will lead you through there, and that way down there for the hall and for the other purposes of stuff we're trying to do. And the idea is that you kind of come in and you're drawn upwards, because right there in that'll be a stained glass window way up there. So you kind of come in and you don't really see it until you actually go, wow, here we are, So when you come up here, then you'll see the altar area, and our choir are over there, and we have a big grand piano we're going to put over there, and we do a lot with choral music, but we also want to utilize other forms. So we're even thinking about doing maybe Friday evening concerts, so we could bring in a classical guitarist, or we want this to be not just a place to come to church on a Sunday, but also be a place to house the arts.
The unfinished facility offers lots of opportunities for St. Michael's. But even though the parish has a developing neighborhood on its doorstep, new members are not guaranteed. Many people connected to the building project see it as a bold experiment. Jeff Carnell is the president of the funeral home, whose chapel St. Michael's has used for the past 3 years. He says the community is going to be looking closely at what St. Michael's does next.
They're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to answer the question, what is it going to take to attract younger families to the churches of the 21st century? What's it going to take? And will it be daycare? Will it be cafes? Will it be social media? Something will have to be introduced. And then a blend is going to have to take place between the seniors and then the younger families. So yeah, this is an experiment. This is a cultural experiment. How is the culture going to respond to a new church?
How it responds likely depends on what the churches are offering.
I think one of the biggest threats would be the exceedingly mobile society in which we find ourselves. People often move around so much that they don't put down roots. And if they do, they don't deepen those roots in the local community. So it is important that the church offer a community that is very, very accessible, easy for people to join. I believe, and I've said it here in this parish, that churches should be very easy to join and very hard to leave. But often, in my experience, churches have been quite the opposite. They've been hard to join and easy to leave.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Another Sunday morning, another children's talk before the service.
Okay, what's this?
An apple.
Have figs?
They look like onions.
They look like onions? I don't know what kind of figs you're eating.
They're actually fruit.
Father Rose says that some parishes struggle with welcoming new members because they operate like an exclusive club. There's an assumption that parishes don't need to reach out to the community because the community should naturally want to be part of the parish.
There's the old expression, build it and they will come. I'm about 50-50 on that. I see the positive side of that, and then I also see, well, don't take people for granted. Just because you're putting up a nice new facility, that doesn't mean that they're just going to show up if you don't do anything. We see it as being something that the real challenge for us is to not wait for people just to show up. It's to go to them.
This is the part we worked on last week where we were really trying to keep the sound going. Cross.
One of the parish's key outreach ministries is its choral scholarship program. St. Michael's invites young musicians from the wider community to join their choir and learn the high Anglican choral tradition. Choral director Kaylin Thompson says that it's surprising how the older tradition can appeal to younger people.
I think we have the most formal, you might say, service in the city, and yet we have the youngest choir. When you look, there's all these young faces singing in the choir. Father Sam is a young man. When you look at the priest, when you look up at the people who are working in this church, there's this young youthfulness that is propelling this old tradition, and I think that's a really cool dichotomy. And personally, I really like the music of what we do. I love chanting the Psalms. I love chanting prayers. I love how we take that tradition and keep it going through young people who are talented musicians who connect with that and can propel that further for the next generation. I shouldn't tell you all my secrets, you'll fire me.
But the young people aren't just coming for the music or even the scholarship money. Thompson says the longer the scholars stay, the more they understand the spiritual side of the parish.
Most of the choral scholars, when they first coming, those who don't come from an Anglican tradition, don't receive communion at first. But over time, as people stay, they feel more and more comfortable, and that tends to change in a lot of people, and they realize, hey, this is a really welcoming family. I don't feel awkward about this at all.
The question of how to maintain that welcoming environment is not unique to St. Michael's. Other parishes in the city are in the same situation. One of them is the Anglican parish of St. Mary the Virgin. St. Mary's is another large, aging church with not enough people to fill it. It, too, will likely face three choices: move to a new building, consolidate with another parish, or shut down entirely. The parish isn't considering any of that yet, but Father Gregory Mercer says when the time comes, picking up and moving will only be part of the discussion.
When you come to the point where you got a congregation that's no longer able or have the critical mass to support such a big building like this here, that would certainly be one of the options. And while we don't want to see too many buildings going up, and probably some people would argue consolidation would be the right move, yet at the same time there's a lot to be said for neighborhood churches in new growing areas.
And even if St. Mary's wanted to move, it's not clear if it would be able to. At Carnell's funeral home, Jeff Carnell says that St. Michael's had a financial and organizational head start, something St. Mary's may not have.
The fact that there was a number of ingredients already available to St. Michael and All Angels gave them that impetus to look at a new church. The St. Mary's situation is a different situation altogether. They have to fix a structure that is beginning to fail with significant money. It's hard to generate that interest in a parish that is aging, as all of the parishes are, without some renewal within that parish. Again, it speaks to the cultural change that will be confronted by St. Michael. That can other churches address the same issue?
But members of St. Michael's know it's not just their physical and financial circumstances that kept them going. Even without a dedicated building, their parish family has stayed together.
I think we've made it the number of years that we've made it now and survived as a congregation without having a building to attach our identity to. And honestly, I think that is the hard part. The fact that we didn't break apart and we still celebrate Mass in a funeral home every week is really cool. We didn't go to the funeral home to die. We've stayed alive. We've developed a service that works really well and has worked for us for the last couple of years. And I think that that will only grow when we finally have a building to really work in.
I'd like to say that's the day we open and it'll be blocked and there'll be people there every day. That's definitely not a guarantee, but it just means that we have to work better at reaching people where they are, as opposed to just expecting them to kind of say, oh, I need to fit into where you are as a church. An expression I used at one time is, if you want to know how the church should work, ask people who are not part of one. They may not have the religious language or the theological understanding, but they have the practical understanding. We see this building as really an offering to the community. It's our way to say to this neighborhood, look, sure, we're a church, we've been around a long while, but yet part of the reason we've been around a long while is because we've been doing these things over the years. We just want to do it in a new neighborhood to hopefully welcome new people into that community, that family, and see how wide that family can grow.